Trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about some phobias in this video, including aerophobia and emetophobia. I will not be getting into details or showing any pictures of anything too intense. I definitely won't be showing anything relating to vomiting or anything like that, but I will be using those types of words, so just please be aware of that if that makes you uncomfortable. Hi, I'm Anne, and welcome to Chronically Beautiful, where we're trying to live our best life even though we probably don't feel like it. I have a really exciting announcement to make, which is only exciting to me, but that is that I will be getting on a plane for the first time in over 20 years in less than a month. And that is a huge deal because I suffer from very severe aerophobia, which is the fear of flying in an airplane. It's known by a few other names as well. The aerophobia we have discovered in work with my counselor is due to the emetophobia that I have had since I was a small child. And I will do a video about that and kind of getting into a little more detail about my story with emetophobia. But for today's video, I just wanted to talk a little bit about overcoming phobias and that you can do it. I'm doing it. I am going to get on that plane. I am terrified. I have been in therapy for about 2 years just preparing to get on this flight, which I know sounds asinine and dramatic and ridiculous, but if you too suffer from an actual legitimate phobia, you understand exactly why that was necessary for me, because I am going. I'm going to be doing lots of posts this month. I'm going to do a whole series on overcoming phobias, mindfulness, ways to cope, and just sort of doing all that to celebrate the fact that I am going to do this. Right? I'm going to do it, right? Oh God. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please stick around. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to be notified of all my upcoming videos, ring the bell. And finally, if you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, comment below. That really does a lot for my channel in the YouTube algorithm. So I really hope that you can interact with this video a little bit. How about, do you have a phobia? Go ahead and put it in the comments below. All right, let's dive right in. So what exactly are phobias? Phobias are a severe and intense fear of something or a situation or certain types of objects that can interfere with your daily life. There are so many different kinds of phobias, but some of the most common are arachnophobia or agoraphobia. Claustrophobia is one we hear about a lot. And a surprising one that's very common, but most people don't know about it, is emetophobia. And the reason that it's so common, but that we don't hear about it, is because it's such a weird and almost shameful feeling thing to be afraid of, that most of us that have it don't talk about it. Because we just are embarrassed. I know that's how I have always felt about mine. Most people are not comfortable with the idea of falling from somewhere very high and hurting themselves, or being trapped in a very small area. I can't imagine anyone who's interested in doing those things. And no one likes to be sick, but it's not about not liking it. It is about an intense and irrational fear and aversion to any and all situations that have anything to do with it. And most of us feel so weird about being afraid of something that is so natural and so common that we just don't talk about it. How do you know that you have a phobia and you're not just afraid of something? There are quite a few different ways that you can tell if it's an actual phobia or not. One of them, have you been feeling this way for 6 months or more? Is this so intense that you are having physical symptoms and reactions? And we'll talk more about symptoms in a bit. Is this getting in the way of you having relationships with certain people, having certain experiences, going on trips, eating certain foods, being in certain situations? If it is affecting your daily life and you feel like you are getting left out or missing out on other things, then you very likely could have a phobia and not just a fear or aversion to something unpleasant. How can you get diagnosed with a phobia? Well, you can speak to your doctor, or you can talk to a cognitive behavioral therapist, and that's what I've been doing. To get a diagnosis, I know I have it. you probably know that you have it, but your doctor will ask you some questions kind of similar to the ones that we just discussed. Has it been for a certain length of time? Is it affecting you in your daily work? Is it affecting you in your job? Is it affecting you in your relationships? Are you having physical symptoms? That's how they're going to find out. Chances are you probably already know that you have one. Having a diagnosis officially, which I do have for my emetophobia, I don't feel like it has changed anything. But it might help if you need something like that, maybe for your job or what have you, maybe to get medication, etc. Can a phobia be cured or treated? Absolutely, yes, it can. And there are a few different ways to do it. All of them require a ton of work. Myself, I have been in therapy for years trying to deal with these things so that I could be brave enough to go on this trip of a lifetime. There are a lot of different ways to overcome a phobia, but again, just please know that they're going to take work. None of them are going to be easy. You can't just flip a switch and all of a sudden you're better. I've heard of hypnosis. It's not anything I've looked into. Let me know if you have and it works, because that would be really nice to just boop. Cognitive behavioral therapy is the type of therapy that helps the most, and it helps to identify and change negative thoughts and behaviors related to your phobia. By gradually exposing you to the fear in safe and controlled environments, patients can learn to overcome things. But I would not suggest that you try to do this on your own if you have a very intense phobia. People talk about exposure therapy. The idea of that is terrifying to me and not something that my therapist and I have decided to go with, because that's too scary. There are videos, be really careful. There's videos if you type in, emetophobia, whatever, that will just show things like that I'm not ready to do. I cannot see, cannot do it. So if you are thinking about exposure therapy, which is a legitimate option for treatment, please do not do so by yourself. This is something that you need to have a cognitive behavioral therapist there with you to hold your hand and help you through and do this in a controlled way, because otherwise you run the risk of traumatizing yourself even more and putting yourself into an even worse situation. What causes phobias? Phobias can be caused in a lot of different ways, but I just mentioned one of the most probably important ones that's most likely is they come from some type of a trauma. It could come from a trauma of having a poor experience with that thing or in that place or about that situation. For me, we have found through years of therapy that my emetophobia began because I had a very traumatic life experience for a period of time, and within that period of time, I had a really unpleasant vomiting scenario that happened when I was at school. And it wasn't that was icky and that was gross and now I'm phobic. It was that combined with the trauma that I was going through in my personal life as a little kid, and that was an extended amount of time that I was dealing with that. And so my trauma from that, which I'll talk about in another video if you're interested, but my trauma kind of manifested itself into this fear of vomit and anything related to vomit, because that was kind of the trigger thing that has happened to happen that I could put my finger on. Oh, I don't like this. And that's the same for a lot of people. For some people, they have a fear of something and it may not even be related to the trauma that was experienced, but that's just how the brain is coping with it. And I have been working through cognitive behavioral therapy to teach my brain how to cope, to work with my sympathetic nervous system, to not throw my body into the fight or flight reaction every single time that I am faced with a trauma trigger or the emetophobic triggers that my brain thinks are the enemy. Some people say it can be caused by genetics. It can be caused by a parent or an older sibling having a similar phobia and you just watching that behavior and learning that that's how we react to different things. Oftentimes, if a parent has a phobia, the kids might have the same one. Mine don't, thank goodness. My aerophobia also stemmed from a bad flight 20 years ago, coupled with a very traumatic relationship that I was in at the time. And everything that was happening all, again, muddled itself all together. And my body decided, and my brain decided, nope, flying is the enemy, because that's how I was able to cope. I was able to grab onto that thing. Because lots of people don't like flying, rather than face what was happening in my actual life and the trauma there. And on top of the legitimate aerophobia. It has to do with being on the plane and someone getting sick, me getting sick, being trapped in that situation. A lot of people with aerophobia also have emetophobia, germophobia, which I know is called something else, claustrophobia, agoraphobia, problems with a lot of different things because it's a tough situation that you're kind of trapped in. And so we've all got different levels of things, and a lot of phobias kind of wrap in with each other. That's the really scary thing about it, is that they kind of just can like get going like a snowball effect and keep tumbling, and the next thing you know, you're just totally lost and afraid to even leave your house. Another thing that I've been working on a ton and will be using throughout my trip and throughout the rest of my life is relaxation techniques like mindfulness and breathing. Having an opportunity to train your brain and your body to be able to relax in those situations, because when you're faced with a phobia or even being stuck in traffic, your cortisol levels go through the roof, and your body and brain do not understand the difference between being faced with a phobia of something that's totally natural that happens to everyone, like vomiting, or being faced with a bear that's about to attack you. They literally have the same brain reaction, and that's that sympathetic response to trauma and to something scary that is happening. And so being able to work through and teach your body to control itself, to work with that sympathetic nervous system, is so, so, so important. So we're going to be doing some breathing exercises. That is a huge part of my life, and being able to control response to stress, response to things that are triggering me. It is such an important part, I think, of just life these days. And I love that mindfulness has become such a common practice everywhere because it's just so important. In my classroom, we do mindfulness every Monday, so I'm going to be doing Mindfulness Monday videos here on the channel as well. Another option for you, and again, talking to your doctor about, is getting medication. This is something that I will be doing. I'm going to be making an appointment with my doctor to get some medication to have with me on the plane. I don't know, like Xanax or something, whatever, just in case. I don't intend on using it unless it is an absolute emergency and I'm losing my mind. But I want to know that I have that option just in case. And I don't think that is something that you should be using on the daily, right? This is only when you are in the middle of a really triggering moment where you just cannot cope. But that's something that I'm going to have in my toolbox just in case. But overall, overcoming a phobia is something that's going to be multifaceted. It's not just going to be a one-stop shop. It's going to be building that toolbox of all these different things that are going to help. On the plane, I know I'm going to be doing my breathing exercises. I'm going to have those meds just in case. I'm going to have my C-bands on, and I'm going to take my nausea medication. I'm going to have my crazy glasses with the water that slosh around that help you with motion sickness. Those are the things that make me feel safe and make me feel like, okay, I'm not going to get sick. I'm going to download a bunch of breathing exercises, mindfulness meditations, and different things, soothing music, so that I can have that with me to create a situation that I feel comfortable and safe in. I also know I'm going to be surrounded by amazing people who are aware of my phobias and are there to help me. They already know what we're going through. They already are prepared to be there if I need them. And so having a great network of people to help you is also a really huge important part of healing from something as traumatic as having a phobia. And so if you don't have people in your life that you feel safe and comfortable talking about it with, there are support groups, there are forums. You can go on Reddit and find a forum. You can go to Facebook and find a support group, especially for some of the phobias that are not very common, that you might not know anyone that's ever even heard of it, and they think, oh, that's so weird. There are always people out there, and the magical thing about the internet is that you can find those people. You can find your tribe, and they can be there for you if the people in your real world are not. Overcoming a phobia can be challenging, but it will be a very rewarding experience if you decide to put in the work. It's important to remember that everyone's journey is different. With the help of a therapist and the willingness to confront your fear, you can take control of your life and overcome your phobia. I know you can. Don't let your phobias control you. Take those first steps towards empowerment. You deserve it. Thank you so much for going on this adventure with me today, and I look forward to sharing lots more content like this throughout this series. Keep coming back. Take care of you, and remember to live your best life. Bye. Hi, I'm Anne, and welcome to Chronically... Look who I have. Oh, this is Judith. We got her this summer. She is 8 months old. She is a Chiweenie pup. She was a rescue. And she's my little squirt. So she's just hanging out, literally sleeping in my lap right now while I film this.